Hello, welcome to Geoff Schwartz Smarter Than You. Geoff Schwartz Smarter Than You, by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Today is Tuesday, December 2nd. We made it to December, and I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. I'm Geoff Schwartz alongside Gabe Goodwin. Gabe, welcome back in, sir. College football regular season on the field has been concluded. There's lots of noise around college football. We'll talk about all this coaching cycle stuff. Lane Kiffin will be a big part of the discussion. We'll talk about agents and their involvement in all this. It's been so gross, Gabe. And then we'll get to the National Football League because there were games on Thursday that mattered, game on Friday that mattered, obviously games this past weekend, and the New England Patriots and Chicago Bears right now are atop their respective conferences. How are you doing, sir? How was your Thanksgiving weekend?
Nice weekend. Nice to end the USC season with a rivalry win at home. But yeah, all of my brain has been used up on this Lane Kiffin news. You say we'll get to the pro side of the sport next. We have to start with the amateurs. This is just, good amateur athletics. That's what it feels like.
So, for those under a rock or maybe not follow college football, the season ended this weekend on Saturday, right? That's the final plays of the regular season were ended. There are a bunch of coaching opportunities that were available because coaches have been fired, and those roles are starting to get filled. And the most high-profile job out there was the LSU job. And Lane Kiffin, who was the coach of Ole Miss, was up for this job for a couple weeks now. There was no surprise on where this was going to end, except, as usual with Lane Kiffin, it was done in the worst way possible, in a way that really was embarrassing for all the parties involved, in a way that we have now come to know this is how Lane Kiffin leaves anywhere. Raiders, USC, FAU, anywhere he's been, he leaves in the most, just the most Lane Kiffin way, the most messy way possible, Gabe. And LSU finally has their head coach. And there's so many ways to go about this, but just from the perspective of Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin, the sticking point here was essentially that Ole Miss is a playoff team, and Lane Kiffin wanted to have his cake and eat it too. He wanted to be the LSU head coach and then also coach Ole Miss in the playoffs. And if I was Ole Miss, I would have told him to kick rocks, kicked him out the door, locked the door behind him, and told him to get lost. He didn't want to be the coach anymore of your team. You can't do both these things at the same time. Now, people would argue that the Ole Miss athletic director had to sort of play it the way he did because you can't fire him, right? Then he would owe him all this money. And then he also, can't really let go before he figures out what he's going to do. But they lost out on the candidates they probably wanted to hire because they took too long to tell Lane to leave, or Lane took too long to make his decision. We knew for weeks he was going to LSU. There was no, I take that back. We knew for weeks he was going somewhere else, Florida or LSU. LSU won in the end, and the whole thing was gross. Look, there was cryptic social media posts by Lane and his dog that supposedly he just uses for cover and left behind. There was the family going to visit Gainesville and Baton Rouge out in the open. There was no undercover, just like, here's a private plane. We're going to visit these places and we're going to see what they have. And the whole thing, Gabe, to me was just perfect for Lane Kiffin, but just embarrassing for all the parties involved. You cannot coach your playoff team when you go to a rival school. This is not the same thing as Tulane or North Texas coach leaving from a group of 5 school to go up to a Power 4 school. And they didn't do it, and they didn't do it in an ugly way. They took the job very quietly. They had the press conference, and they're going back to their schools to finish out their rest of their season, whether it is a conference championship game or whether it's future to the playoff. The other part of this game, before I talk here, are you represented by CEA by any chance? Or by Jimmy Sexton?
Jimmy Sexton's not my agent.
Okay. This part to me was the worst of this all. Okay. So
I thought we'd wind up to this, but here we are.
We're here now. Now, look, we all have agents. Okay. Our agents represent mostly people that are in the industry and all over the industry, right? My agent represents people that are coaches, broadcasters, social media content creators, people on TV, like everywhere, right? You have an agent, same thing, right? And most of the time, I would say, Gabe, that it's not so out there in our faces that agents represent the same people in the industry. But in this case, it was straight in our face that clients of Lane Kiffin's agent that are also on television on ESPN are pushing the narrative that Lane Kiffin should be able to coach Ole Miss and coach LSU at the same time. And then you come to find out they have the same freaking agent, Gabe. I've never seen it so blatant where an agent very clearly told his clients to go on television and tell the national public that we're jackasses and the way that things should go shouldn't actually be that way because I said so, because my agent said, hey, you need to cover for my guy here. And then come to find out, by the way, that Nick Saban, one of the guys who went on TV and said Lane Kiffin should be able to coach LSU and coach Ole Miss at the same time, privately told Lane Kiffin he should take the LSU job. It's all, dude, this industry does this, right? Like we know this behind the scenes, Gabe, but this was the most blatant nonsense we've seen, I think, where agents controlling what people say behind the scenes makes it out in public and on national TV and on ESPN.
Okay, so this was the part of it that interested me most. I want to stay here. We're going to circle back to a couple on-field questions just about what this means for each of these teams, and there's a couple other angles I want to hit. But, all right, let's clarify a couple things. The person you mentioned, Jimmy Sexton at CAA, is agent to many high-profile coaches in college football. He's not necessarily the media agent of other people who appear on television and talked about this, right? So that his agency represents some of those people. But Saban and now Rex Ryan are the two guys who have obviously over the years had relationships with the same agent and where I think everything you said is valid. There's a couple other guys where it's a little less clear. They're represented by the same agency. Are they texting with people? Are they getting talking points from people? Of course, we don't know. But that's where guys like Orlovsky, Herb Street, Booger McFarland, those types of guys come in. I do think it's worth analyzing that a little deeper if you're a sports fan of like, how are these people formulating their opinions? Where are the information coming from? I don't think that we should suggest there's a giant conspiracy and that they're all saying it because they're in cahoots between the college football playoff and ESPN. I don't think we should be doing the Charlie Day thing, but I do think we should be asking, how are their opinions formulated? Why do they think the things they think? So I'll ask you, why do you think this is about Lane Kiffin and not about the college football calendar, which was the argument that several of them made on the air?
Okay, so because the college football calendar is something that these coaches wanted. They wanted this calendar. So signing day is tomorrow, Gabe. The first signing day, National High School Signing Day. It used to be in mid-February, but coaches want the players to come in January. They want the players to commit and be there for winter workouts, to be ready for spring ball, to be able to play in this upcoming season. So the coaches wanted this calendar, right? They wanted this calendar. But more importantly, this is something that I know that we are moving away from this being about a student athlete and more just about being an athlete, right? Which is fine. That's always sort of the way it's been, but there's always at least been the talk about being a student first. And look, and for 90% of the guys that are playing, the student part of it is very important still, right? They're not going to the NFL. They're not pursuing professional athletics afterwards, right, Gabe? And the reason why the calendar is what it is because to transfer or to come as a high school recruit early, you have to be eligible, academically eligible, to play in your sport. You only do that if you go to class, Gabe, and classes start in January for the winter semester or winter quarter, whatever you have, or second, like whatever you're like. Oregon's on a quarter school, so Oregon starts like immediately in January, early January. Oregon starts their winter quarter, and so this has to be done now. So players who are in the portal or high school players that want to be there in the winter can get to class and be eligible to play, Gabe. That's why the calendar is what it is. It's the academic calendar that football has to follow to make all of this work. If you want to change the whole thing, you would say, essentially, I think you move it to the summer, and that would be when recruiting start. Basically, the commitment period starts in the summer. Like we used to commit, Gabe, in February and show up in the summer. That's what used to happen. But again, that's not when freshmen played, right? That's before. Dude, I was the third Oregon offensive lineman to play as a true freshman in school history in 2004. Mm-hmm. Like young players did not play before my era. You just didn't play. Now true freshmen play all the time, and you play because you show up in January and you go through the entire winter program. You go through spring ball, and you're more prepared to play in September. And so the academic calendar matters here. And people, the same people, by the way, that would argue that the student athlete, the student part of it still matters. The same people that want to argue that the calendar is the reason why this whole thing is a mess. Those have to. So if you want to turn this into, again, the student part doesn't matter at all, sure, change the entire calendar. But also, too, the regular season is over right now. And people argue that I see the argument that the NFL waits till the regular season is over. Well, the regular season ended. It's done, Gabe. The regular season's over. It's done. College football's regular season is done. Now, there's a playoff still to come. But in the NFL, if you're a coach who has a team is in the postseason, there are rules about like you're not leaving your team. You can agree to a job, but you're not leaving your team. That's the same thing in college football. So I think the calendar is like the boogeyman and uses an excuse for the inappropriate behavior that happens this time of year with this whole coaching cycle at times. But the calendar is something the coaches wanted, and that it has to revolve in academics.
Okay, so then let's zero in on Coach Saban, who went on game day, and I think a lot of people had their eyes opened to everything you've just talked about when Coach Saban chimed in. Right now, remember, he and Lane have a weird relationship.
Yes,
he hired Lane, probably upon suggestion from the same agent, had him for a couple years, and then didn't allow him to coach in a national championship game. Basically was like, get out of here. And then off went Lane, and then the rest is history. So presumably they know each other well. How they feel about each other is unclear. Saban made a very impassioned case about this being about the athletes, right? And then he said all the stuff he thinks about the calendar. So if we're going to give Nick Saban the benefit of the doubt, or we're going to give Louis Riddick, who offered a couple suggestions on how he might change the calendar, if we're going to take the calendar idea seriously, even though you just explained how it's tied to the academic year, are there tweaks? Like, could we satisfy that argument in good faith if we thought any of them were trying to be productive?
Yeah, but you have to basically move the entire thing to the summer, which is
That's
fine.
the only solution that you're proposing.
I don't know how. Well, how else do you do it during the academic? If we still agree that academics matter and that this is,
we're stipulating that we're pretending they do.
Okay, then you have to either do it. Dude, the problem is like you still have quarter schools. Like they're not even on the same calendars. Oregon, UCLA, like they're not on the same calendars as the rest of the schools on the West Coast. USC's a semester school, right? Like they're not on the same calendar. So right. you have to find a time to like get the player in either in January or I guess when second semester starts, which is when I don't even know when second semester starts.
Right now, just to be specific, my understanding is the transfer portal is currently January 2nd to January 16th. That checks to you?
When you can enter, correct, yes.
Yeah, right.
Officially enter.
And then some Riddick, for example, is proposing we just tighten that and slide it back to make it about a week instead of about 2 weeks, and then begin it after we've already gotten into bowl season. So basically, give us more time. This is his suggestion.
He wants the transfer portal window to happen to move up?
I'll just read you what he tweeted. Okay. Move portal back and shorten it from January 2 through 16 to January 8 through 16. Players on teams in national title game have additional 3 days following national title game.
They already have that in there for players that play in playoff games. Okay.
Yeah. So make me smarter here. Does that logic work for you?
What? No, that doesn't change anything.
It wouldn't change anything you're saying about the academic year.
The window for the portal is just to declare that you're leaving your school.
Yeah.
You can get signed anytime after that, Gabe. Right. So the portal can be 1 day. You can just do it all in 1 day. That's not really the issue. And teams that are on they may be changed it in this new iteration of the window, which they closed more this year. They was bigger, they closed it a little bit. But previously, if you were a playoff team, your season ended December 21st, you had 5 days to declare. It would actually be the opposite. It would be later. So like, let's say you finished after the window was closed, which is possible if you played in a championship game. You had 5 days after the championship game to then declare like your window was still open essentially. So that's nothing new to the portal. The portal is not even like the problem. I mean, the problem is high school recruiting. Again, today is the 2nd. Tomorrow is the first signing day. So all these schools that had openings have to get a coach in to at least have a warm body in the seat. Penn State, as of we're talking right now, has no coach. They're going to expect players to commit to their school tomorrow without a coach.
Yeah.
So to me, it's a high school recruiting window that makes this much worse. Put it back where it was, Gabe, or at least move it back to maybe January and say, we just don't need to have these kids on campus so early. Now, I'm almost against that, by the way. I don't think that kids should cut their high school years short. Enjoy being a kid for a little bit longer before you go to college. That's my opinion on that. Enjoy being a senior for 5 months before you show up to college, but that's everyone's own personal decision. But if you move this back a little bit where you don't have to rush to get classes signed tomorrow, I mean, Will Stein, the Oregon head coach, got hired yesterday as the Kentucky head coach. He's got to get a class like put together in 24 hours.
Yeah.
That part of the calendar to me needs to be fixed. The portal doesn't have to be fixed as much, but it honestly, Gabe, if you moved everything back 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, LSU is still going to do the same process to hire Lane Kiffin. It's not going to change. It's not going to change. Like the process, you want to get a coach immediately in place to start the recruiting process, to start the staff hiring process, to start getting boosters excited about the program moving forward, to keep the players you have currently right now. No one's going to wait an extra 2 weeks because the calendar moved to hire Lane Kiffin. It's not going to happen that way. It's fundamentally not going to change what happens. The issue is that there's so much money invested now in recruiting, in the portal, and being good that there's always going to be a thirst to do it faster, quicker, right now. That I'm not sure changing the calendar 3 weeks or 4 weeks will change much. I think if you make it in the spring, which seems silly to wait to hire a coach till the spring, but basically you move portal and high school recruiting later, like really later, like after the season into the spring. Maybe there's not this rush. Maybe Lane Kiffin can continue to coach Ole Miss for another month, and then you don't feel the pressure to get in there right now and make this happen. But it's a rival too. Like Lane's a bad example. The better example would be, a group of 5 coach moving up that feels the pressure to have to leave their school, which none of them are doing. They're staying and coaching the schools they have. So like Lane feels like the outlier here. Again, Eric Morris in North Texas went to Oklahoma State. Tulane, their coach went to Florida. They're coaching against each other this weekend. They're both promised to stay on through the playoff. JMU's head coach went to UCLA. He's staying on through a possible playoff berth. Oregon's offensive coordinator went to Kentucky. He's staying on and calling plays through, hopefully a long playoff opportunity. Oregon's defensive coordinator potentially taking the Cal job. He's staying on to coach through the playoff game. Everyone else is doing it except Lane Kiffin because he went to a rival of Ole Miss. So we can't just use this one really messy situation to say the rest of it is messed up, because the rest of it's going how it normally had gone, which is you take a job, you stay where you're at till you finish that job, and you move it along. But Lane Kiffin went to a rival and made it supremely messy. Dude, there's a tweet today with like 10 different things that Lane did like during this process that are just the reason why Ole Miss told their fans are angry. Like he tweeted like daily devotional, ambiguously teasing whether he would stay or go, which he did. He had other schools' airplanes fly into Oxford during rivalry week. He tweeted out Lane 2026 Kiffin hats in Ole Miss colors. Like he went on these interviews and said dumb stuff. His dog's Twitter account was like subtweeting stuff about SE championship stuff. Like all this stuff like he did, it's a Lane problem. It's not a calendar problem. It's a Lane problem.
Okay. Good. So we're back to him. There are 1,000 other creative suggestions for how to fix the calendar if you believe the calendar is the problem. But we're saying on this show, we're focused on him. So talk to me then about what this means for this Ole Miss team. Because, look, I've rooted for a team that he was briefly a part of, that didn't meet expectations, and he was fired on the runway, allegedly. Plenty of people have rooted for a team that Lane Kiffin has been the coach of and then left under bad circumstances.
Yeah.
What does it do for this Ole Miss team, which feels very much like a title contender? I mean, really, like. Well,
I don't think they're winning a title, but they are a playoff team. Their defense is not good enough to win a championship. So here's the question. So I was on Bear Bets yesterday, my other podcast. Go check it out as well if you like this one. And we're talking about the point spread without Lane Kiffin, and people suggested like 2 to 4 points difference. And that's probably right, Gabe, but it feels a lot more than that, right? So you're losing your primary play caller in Lane, and I think they lost their offensive coordinator as well, and maybe another offensive coach. So you're losing all of the offensive brain power with a quarterback that was a Division school tool last year, who's now playing in a playoff game, and it just walked out the door. It's a big deal, Gabe. That's a big deal. There's not enough people right now, I think, to replace that knowledge and that brain power when it comes to designing an offense. Also, just a relationship, right? Like I would imagine that when their quarterback comes off the field after a bad play or bad series, he talks to the two guys that left, that left the building.
Yeah.
And there's certainly going to be an us against the world mentality and a F you. We're going to show everyone that we can do without Lane. I know what they're going to say in the building, but I think that's really difficult to actually show on the field. Like I'm even concerned about a little bit. It's fair, I think. Like Oregon's offensive coordinator is going to Kentucky, okay, and he's going to still call plays for Oregon in the playoff as he should. He's going to spend the next 10 days doing Kentucky stuff as he should. We don't have an opponent yet. There's no playoff opponent yet. You won't play that opponent. It's December 2nd now till the 19th or 20th, I believe. So he has plenty of time to do Kentucky stuff and do Oregon stuff. But there's a little bit of me that's like, is he going to be focused enough on Oregon stuff during that week of preparation? You know, like that's fair, right? He's going to have his phone on and he's got to deal with recruiting and hiring staff at Kentucky and all that stuff. He's going to be there. And I trust Will Stein. Again, this is nothing against Will Stein. I love what he did. Good for him. He should be able to do both jobs. But there's a little bit of me that as an Oregon fan, it's like he probably will not be 100% without distraction, you know, that week of preparation. Now the coaches aren't even there for Ole Miss. And like they're not there, Gabe. So I think it matters a lot. Now, do you dock them? Do you don't allow them to have a home playoff game? I think that's unfair. I made the argument when Florida State lost their quarterback that you should be able to keep. They should be a playoff team anyways. I'm curious what they do here as far as the playoff committee and figuring out where they should be in the postseason. But I think it's a big deal. I don't know again if it matters 2 to 4 points, whatever the point spread should say. But they also look, their defense is, I think, the lowest rate of any of the playoff teams right now. So now you lose your OC, you lose your play caller, use your offensive identity, and now your defense isn't great. I think they're in a bad spot. They weren't going to win the championship anyways. But I mean, dude, like Lane Kiffin cheating on his wife and then saying, "I want to stay in the house through Christmas." Like I can't believe that was a thing that people suggested that should be allowed. I can't believe people went on ESPN and made those. And then another comment, like, so I know we're going long on this. I don't care. Another comment was,
I got a lot more. Keep going.
Like on ESPN yesterday, of people that know better said yesterday morning, well, why didn't Ole Miss offer him more money? They did offer him money. It's not about money. Lane Kiffin has all the money in the world. It's not about money. It's about situation. He wanted to go to LSU because he thinks he win a championship there. Why are we talking about this like we're 5 years old? It's from Adam Schefter. You don't know the business, Adam. You don't know Ole Miss offered him just as much money. Everyone reported that. Why are we doing this? Why are we saying dumb things on TV that you know are not true just for some sort of talking point? I don't understand it, man.
Well, that's the point of this show, is to cut through some of the dumb talking points. Again, all of us are in group chats. All of us get information from a variety of different people. If your network of people happen to be a bunch of folks incentivized to spread a talking point, they can say it and believe it. Again, it's not a conspiracy. There might just be this underlying feeling that, oh man, it's the calendar. That's the problem. That's what they're all chatting about. Or, oh man, this guy's not motivated by money. Lane apparently doesn't know what he's being paid. Left it all to his agent. Didn't care about the money. That's the report. Look,
I know. No, that's the report. That's what he said. It's not the report. It's what he said.
Do you buy that at all?
No, of course I don't buy that at all.
Well, I didn't either. But you just said he has all the money in the world, and this might be about wanting to win a title somewhere else. And he obviously burned the bridge as he left Oxford. So I guess I have to ask, like,
he burned the bridge while he was still standing on it.
Could it be? I don't know why I'm taking this position, but here goes. I'm going to try to defend Lane Kiffin on that quote. Could it be that he said, "Hey man, if you get me to 90 million and anything above 90, I'm good. I don't even care about the details. I don't care if you get me private jet access or luxury box or this or that. I don't care. Just get me 90 million or better and I'm in." And then he genuinely didn't know any of the other details that have since been reported. Is that possible?
I mean, are you going to sign a contract that's $90 million and not read the contract at least a little bit beforehand?
I've signed contracts for no millions of dollars and not read them. So yeah, of course. But no, I mean, like, how much does it? is this about winning a title at the next school? And how much better are his odds at LSU than they would have been at Ole Miss?
They're better LSU to win a championship.
Please explain this to me. I mean, I think I know why you feel that way, but let's walk through that. Why is it so much easier to win at LSU than Ole Miss?
Okay, so a couple things are worth noting here. I'm gonna ask you this question: do you know the last time a team won their first championship in college football? What year that was? The last time a team won their first championship?
That's a fun question. The last time a team won its first ever title
in college football,
most of the titles I remember recently have come from what we would call blue bloods. No, I mean I'll save us time. Okay. I don't know the last time.
Okay, it's Florida in 1996 was the first time a team won their first championship.
Got it. I mean, they've won since, but you're saying that was the first time Florida had ever won. Okay.
And that was the last time a team won their first championship. So my point is being the sport has typically been won by teams that have always sort of won. Okay. Yep. It's why what Oregon's doing, by the way, is like near impossible, like to win a championship for the first time out of nowhere. That's another topic for another day. If they win a championship, that will be the number one topic I will talk about. Nonetheless, now Ole Miss won championships back in the 60s, Gabe, but that's so long ago, right? Like they're not a team
when they were called New Miss instead of Old Miss.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, I like that. I like that. Ha. When they,
I'm just saying.
So like people in the industry and recruits don't look at Ole Miss as championship caliber, right? They do look at LSU that way. Now they won in 2019, of course. They do look at Florida that way because they won with Urban Meyer. And so that's a big, and it's a big thing when you need just a player that is just a little bit better at Ole Miss. You're not going to get that guy. That guy's going to LSU, right, Gabe? And that's a different thing between Ole Miss and LSU. Again, Ole Miss won championships, I think, in the 60s, but it's so long ago that it really is inconsequential to football nowadays. And that's, I think, the difference here is that at LSU, you're going to get a little bit better player because they view that program as a championship caliber program and B, a program that puts guys in the NFL at a higher rate. And I think that's the difference between this job and the Ole Miss job. And specifically, I think on defense, like you're going to get better players on defense because you're the State School of Louisiana, you're right by Florida. I know Mississippi is there. I get it. I know the map. But just the fact that LSU has sent so many guys to the NFL on both sides of the ball, impact, Pro Bowl, all-pro players, the brand name is bigger. You've won championships recently. That, I think, is the difference between an LSU job and an Ole Miss job.
Is there more NIL money to be had as well? I mean, that feels like the only thing we really need to
I don't know.
About.
I don't know. I mean,
okay, but
the NIL thing, dude. So continue.
Well, we spent time earlier this season talking about how it's not really working at UNC because the kids that Bill Belichick's trying to recruit barely know who he is.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm wondering, like, okay, but how? I mean, isn't it just about the money at this point for the 5-star guys? Like, why does anyone care if it's Lane Kiffin or any other guy like him?
So there's only 32 5-stars, by the way. That's only 32 of them. So it's not. I think we think there's a lot, but there's not. At least for 24/7, there's 32. So I made this case for a long time, Gabe. I don't think a majority of kids go to schools for the money alone. There are certain kids that do. That's fair. I'm not denying that. I think that's part of it, but also the coaching staff is part of it. The development's part of it. The city you're going to, the atmosphere, like all those things we used to think matter, I think still matter. Because I know, for example, people think Oregon pays the most for every kid. They don't, Gabe. I know the people that give these contracts out. They don't give the most money to every player. Otherwise, they get every player they wanted. Like that's not the way it works. There are certain players in every cycle who go for just the money, and that's fine. That's their choice. But a lot of players are choosing a lot of money, right? It's a lot of money. And equal, and most often contracts from schools that are about equal, but then the other things still matter, right? The coaching development, the personal relationships with the coaches, the city you're in, like all those things that they still matter, Gabe. And so that's why at LSU, I think you're going to be able to sell players that this is LSU. This is a program that won 5 years ago. It's a program that has all these professional football players. It's a program that has this long history of being successful. And maybe that a kid takes $100,000 less to go to LSU than $100,000 is spent elsewhere. If you do that for 7, 8, 9 players, you get yourself a big war chest to go get more players, Gabe. So that I firmly believe that. I've been told that. That's the way it works for the most part. And that's the sell of LSU over Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss, you have to pay the players more to come than you would at LSU.
Okay, but again, we're going to talk about 18-year-old kids here.
Yeah.
Who don't know anything about any of these old coaches, right? Then like Lane Kiffin, you and I still think of as a younger coach. He's not young, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll get into why that's weird in a few minutes. But the question I guess I'm asking is like, if you kind of didn't really know the history of any of these coaches, and then they show up at your door and they're sitting next to mom or grandma or whoever, and they're trying to tell you about all the great things that are going to happen in their program. And all you've heard on TikTok lately is about this guy, Lane Kiffin, and how much of a slimeball he's been with all the teams he's ever coached. And that's the narrative.
Yeah.
Why are you like, man, sign me up? Give me that guy. Like, doesn't this actually have an impact on his ability to get the next class? I would think.
Well, that's the question, right? Is like, is this going to be used negatively in recruiting for everyone around him? I imagine it is.
How would it not be?
But that's what LSU has to deal with. And I don't know. I don't know how that's going to matter. I don't know how that's going to matter, Gabe. But it definitely will be used against him, which like it should be, right? That's the way this beast works, where that's used against him. And so, you look, the money thing about this sport is blowing up like crazy. I mean, I don't know if you follow the BYU, Sataki, Penn State thing that's happening right now, but so Penn State, by the way, looks like to have completely botched this coaching thing. They fired James Franklin so early in the cycle, and they're going after BYU's head coach, Kalani Sataki, who played at BYU, and the amount of money pouring in to keep him. The CEO of like Crumble Cookies is getting involved, like publicly. There's another like billionaire associated with the BYU program who's supposedly pouring in money. The church is getting involved there as well, apparently. And it seems like Sataki's going to stay, I guess, Gabe. But like the amount of big money players that are making themselves known during this process, even though BYU sneakily is one of the most and best highly funded NIL departments in the country. It's to watch this play out, man. It's entertaining, I'll tell you that.
Well, let's take a quick break because
okay,
the red string connects between everything we've just discussed and Penn State's coaching vacancy. Those two intersect if you read the internet closely. We'll get to that after the break, and then a million other college football and NFL topics.
All right, Gabe, we're back. More college football to get to. Where do you want to go next?
Well, I think we have to close the loop on this theory. So we talked about him earlier. I don't mean to put any name on blast, but Jimmy Sexton, pretty public figure in this whole conversation around Lane Kiffin. There are corners of the internet who believe that the reason Penn State has not found its replacement coach is because when they fired James Franklin, a client of this agent, he got pissed and has made it very, very hard on the school to find their next guy, allegedly. Now, I don't know exactly how those mechanics work, and this is coming from, people on Reddit. But it kind of stands to reason that agents who have all of the top coaches and who can leverage, the scale of their client list against every university could make life hell for a school that crosses them. So do you think that might be a factor?
Okay, I saw this as well. I'm just thinking of like where would matter? Like who did they miss out on that they could have gotten? So the couple of ideas are that Chesney, right, the JMU coach who went to UCLA. I don't know who his agent is. There's talking about Kalen DeBoer going to Penn State. I'm trying to think of the early names. Oh, Eli Drinkowitz, right?
Well, Kalen DeBoer is a relevant one. Kalen DeBoer is a relevant name. Sorry to cut you off. It's because allegedly the vacancy created at Alabama was sort of a seat held by the same agent, and that's how DeBoer ended up at Bama. And so sending DeBoer to Penn State.
Why would DeBoer leave Bama though? Like we don't even know that was a real thing. People just
he wouldn't unless he had lost the Iron Bowl.
Right, but he won the Iron Bowl. So
he did, but
there's just not a lot of evidence that that's the case. That a lot of that Sexton guys were like lining up to be Penn State head coach. And so look, is it possible? Yeah, it's not. It's possible, Gabe. I don't think you'll argue otherwise, but I just don't see a ton of evidence publicly that's been the case.
Okay. Well, Todd McShay is telling Bill Simmons he thinks that might be the case, but
Todd McShay also says a lot of stuff about things that I don't know, man. He called out Oregon's tight end, and it just hasn't gone well since he did that. I don't really know why he did that. All the reports have been to the opposite of calling out a player for his work ethic and the way they use him. And then he wouldn't apologize, and it is. He also said something about like some other coach going somewhere else. I don't know, man. There's a lot of people that, not just him, that just they hear things from agents and just report it as fact, and I just don't do that. I hear stuff too. I don't. What benefit do I get from making this stuff public? None. I don't need the internet clout to tweet out rumors and talk about rumors. But we'll see what Penn State does. They don't have a guy right now, which is kind of wild. Everyone sort of has a guy. Again, signing day is tomorrow, and Penn State is still without a coach. Last on the coach stuff, do you think Lincoln Riley was seriously considering other jobs, like the reporting was like out there that he wanted Florida and other stuff?
I mean, I'm not ruling it out. Look, there are three guys who I would, if I hadn't had experience rooting for teams that they were connected to, I wouldn't be able to tell you the difference between these three dudes. Cliff Kingsbury, Lane Kiffin, and Lincoln Riley. Truly.
Yeah.
Like, I think if you're just some guy who kind of likes football and kind of pays attention, but doesn't really do what we've been doing this whole time, can you really confidently distinguish between those three guys who kind of just always seem to just skate above they're just always like just barely missing the bumps, and they keep getting new chances, and they're known for offense, and they get the Heisman guy, and they do this, and right when you were like, I don't know, man, I'm not sure this guy's got it, on to the next job. Every time with all of them.
Yes, it's been a little less messy with Lincoln and with Cliff Kingsbury than Lane.
Of course.
And dude, I'm telling you, the Lane stuff, I have tried to avoid some of like the internet, like rumor stuff that Ole Miss people are tweeting about, but stuff's going to come out, man. It's not going to be good. It's as messy as possible. The yoga stuff, he was very famously going like to hot yoga, and the yoga instructor started tweeting stuff out and Instagramming stuff. And think about his dog, like the dog that he supposedly had might have been like a rental dog or not his own dog. Like he left, supposedly it's not his dog. Yeah, it's not his dog.
Wait, hold on.
So
Herbie's dog is on the banned list. Lane Kiffin's dog's not on the banned list. What the hell are you talking about? He has a rental dog?
So he is a dog named Juice, I think is his name, and he was tweeting from his account. And I think Juice is not his dog, or like it's a rental dog, or like not really. I'm gonna find it for you right now. I think it's not his dog. So yeah.
I think we're gonna I might have to enlist our pal Pablo Torre here. What is it? I'm not following what a rental dog is. I've owned a dog. I've owned a foster. So I should say I have not owned a foster dog. I have cared for a foster dog. Would we call that a rental dog?
Supposedly that's what it might have been. Like that he just fostered a dog that pretended like it was his own dog, but it wasn't actually his.
And now that dog's not taking the journey?
No.
Oh. Yeah, apparently
it didn't live in his house, yeah.
And by the way, nice job. That first thing I've heard about Lane Kiffin today that I respect, having a dog that doesn't live with you sounds perfect. Well, like there's a dog down the street, my kids can go play with it. We love the dog. We take it for walks. It occasionally comes to the house and plays around. But at the end of the day, like, that dog doesn't live here. Sounds great.
You're the first person I know that doesn't like dogs.
Like I just said, I kind of like dogs in like on occasion. Like it's fun to play with a dog. I love when my kids are around a friendly dog, but I
My
don't
dog's
want
just
to
sleeping.
care for a dog 24/7.
The dog's just sleeping right there in the corner. He's listening to you.
Old
He
foe.
hears
So
your
okay,
hatred for
so
them.
we're gonna move to some other topics shortly, and I'm with you. We don't really need to get into all the other rumors that are swirling about Lane because he's now an enemy in Oxford. Probably a lot of it's BS.
Maybe. I think that Lane, he's divorced, right? Divorced, and
That's public, yeah.
I think some of those things are probably true, but
Okay.
they're going to come out and they're going to be, for a couple weeks. I'm sure those stories will make its way around the internet. They're hard to find though. They're hard to
Didn't
verify.
didn't Coach O get fired because of being? There were some issues with how he was treating his personal life. Isn't that why he was let go?
I think Coach O got fired because he actually is probably not a great head coach. He's
Hmm.
a great motivator and he
Mhm.
hires good staff. But like as soon as it goes bad, I feel like they're like, there's no reason to even keep this guy. He's like, what value does he bring? It's not like you keep him because he can just rehabilitate the offense with better players. It's just Coach O's awesome. I saw him at the Super Bowl. Was it 2 years ago? Him and his guy Derek, and Coach O pretended to remember who I was. It was awesome.
Right.
He's like, "Oh, Schwartz, I remember recording you at USC. You're a big kid, man. We wanted you a lot at USC." I was like, oh, "Thanks for remembering me, Coach. I appreciate the pretending to know who I was." He did recruit. I'll tell you what, man. Coach O, 2004, 2003 was recruiting me. Right, fall 2003, USC. Now, as you know, I despise USC, but
It's never come up.
they're in the middle of like this historic run. They didn't lose a game. I think they lost maybe early 03 and then didn't lose a game the rest of 03, the entire 04, and not to the final game of 05, right? To Texas. Like they didn't lose a
Mhm.
game for nearly 3 years. So they're recruiting me. And of course, if USC offered me, I was going. But USC only offered the exact amount of kids they could offer because they knew as soon as the offer went out, you were going to commit. And USC was one of the most honest schools I dealt with. Ed Orgeron told me the exact situation. He goes, "We're waiting for one player," ended up being Jeff Byers, who was actually Colorado Player of the Year. His high school film was incredible. He was a center. If Jeff Byers commits, you're out. If he doesn't commit, we'll probably send you an offer. So they were recruiting me. He called me every Monday at 7:20 in the evening. Same every time, like I was on the list. I talked to him for 5-10 minutes, like I don't know, five, whatever it was. I went to a USC game, I did all this stuff. And then one October morning or night, he called me. He was like, "Hey man, Jeff Byers committed and you're out." I was like, "Okay, fair. Like, thanks for being honest." And then never talked to him until I saw him 20 years later at a Super Bowl party in Houston. It was Houston.
Wow. Where's Jeff
Yeah.
Byers these days?
I don't know. Jeff was short NFL career, but his high school film was incredible. He might be Gatorade Player of the Year. He just was murdering dudes at center. I think he played center in high school as well. But USC was super honest, man. Like super. It was great.
Thank you. We run an honest program. All right. Well, there'll be more chances to talk about this saga. I suspect there'll be a lot more reporting on how this whole thing went down. Obviously, the Penn State vacancy, all of these things will give us more chances to talk about this. And I'm with you. I suspect that because the target is on his back now, deservedly or not, more stuff about Lane Kiffin's conduct and the behind the scenes of this job and the money he's being paid or not. All of that's going to become a topic. So let's come back to that. Let's go back to the NFL
Can I
now.
ask you, can we do one more 30
You can
seconds?
do whatever you want, baby. Let's do it.
Does this end messy with Lane Kiffin at LSU? Yes or no?
Of course, yes.
Yeah, of course it does. Yeah. Does he win a championship there? I would say no.
I have no idea. I mean, if supposedly he has better chance now than he did before, and he already had a pretty good chance. So I mean, I don't know. But my guess is as soon as the walls start closing in, he's being rumored as the Raiders' next coach or whatever. Like that's coming.
Yeah.
Some crap NFL team is going to get told that he's the solution before he turns 60, and he'll still be considered like an offensive genius who can turn some ship around, and that he's going to bring the quarterback. And, we'll be given the same thing we've been given about every other pretty good college coach who didn't quite make it. Like, it's coming. I just don't know if it's 1 year or 5 years.
Yeah.
He lasted longer at Ole Miss than pretty much anywhere else.
I totally agree.
So we'll see what the timeline is. Here's a guy, ready for a segue? Guy who's lasted longer than anyone in the NFL. Guy who we spend a lot of time second guessing. Guy who we won't bet on. Guy who we love to make fun of. Guy who probably nailed it this offseason. Jerry Jones. The Cowboys are better without the best defensive player in football. They added pieces as a result of that trade. They picked up picks. Something is working. It's time. We're more than halfway through the season. It's time to be honest. Colin Cowherd, I'm a big fan of Colin's takes. Colin basically said it, and I'm saying it to you. Like, it didn't seem like a good idea, but it sure worked out. Do we have to give Jerry Jones his flowers, or whoever the hell made that decision for him? Because it seems like the Micah trade went in favor of Dallas.
How did it go in favor? Micah Parsons just had like 8 sacks in the last 2 games.
It's one of those rare circumstances where both teams get better from an enormous trade.
Yeah, it's entirely possible. But the Packers are going to be in the playoffs and Cowboys are not. So I don't really know like what is that. I mean, how are we basing this on a win? Are the Cowboys in the playoffs and Micah Parsons played all season for them? That's the question, right? Like, their defense
it's a hard
was atrocious.
thing to prove, but like, they pick up 2 defensive linemen who are both good, neither as good as Micah Parsons, but something is working. They just beat your Chiefs. They beat the Eagles. Like, they don't suck as bad as we thought they would. So I think we just have to be honest and say maybe the old man was right this time. Maybe they did something smart.
The subsequent moves, I think, have been bright, right? Quinton Williams was a good trade. The Pickens trade was good. And, they got Overshown back, which certainly helped them defensively as well. But I think in this discussion, we're taking away the credit from probably where it deserves to be, which is Dak Prescott. Because Dak Prescott, whenever he has been healthy, Gabe, he has been a really good football player. Now, I know people want to rank, well, where does he rank in the NFL? I don't know. Who gives a shit what he ranks? Every time he's healthy, Gabe, the Cowboys offense is good. They've been good. Every year it's been healthy. The problem is he's not been healthy. This year is healthy. The offense is incredible. Yes, the Pickens trade certainly has helped Dak Prescott out. Absolutely. But Dak has executed it. He really has. And look, I mocked the Brian Schottenheimer hire. I think we all did. And it seems to be going well. Look, when you have a new coach, new coordinator, it can be the same, right? Coach, coordinator, new D coordinator, and quarterback, right? When they're all sort of new together, it takes about 8 to 12 weeks to start seeing the fruition of that play caller and quarterback connection, or defensive play caller and defensive connection. And in 2 places, we're seeing it go up, right? Dallas, right? We're seeing it get better. Chicago, we're seeing it get better. On the flip side, Philly offensively, right, straight down. And the Lions, missing Ben Johnson, right? Starting to trend down about week 12 or 13. This is time we start seeing that either improvement or downward trend. And the Cowboys, it looks like to me, and give Schottenheimer credit, are on the upward trend. The thing about Dallas that's so fun to discuss, Gabe, is we always talk about peaking at the right time, right? We talk about this, everyone does, peaking at the right time. It's great to peak at the right time, all right? But you have to win games early in the season for it to matter peaking at the right time. We often ignore early season results and say, the teams will figure it out. Though, yeah, maybe the Patriots would or the Chiefs would. But when you lose to the Panthers and the Cardinals and the Bears early in the season, that doesn't give you the opportunity now to peak at the right time and make the postseason. Yeah, the Cowboys are playing good football, Gabe. They got to win out to make the playoffs. Like, they left themselves no opportunity because they lost games they shouldn't have lost. So all the games matter, but peaking at the right time does matter if you're going to be in the playoffs. And the Cowboys might miss out on that opportunity because they weren't playing good ball to start the season. And part of that was their defense sucked, where they could use Micah Parsons.
Okay. You brought it full circle. I ran a marathon when I was 25. My fastest 2 miles were mile 25 and 26. And you could say, well, that's pretty good. But I didn't peak at the right time. And I always was upset because I was like, man, if I just pushed a little harder at about mile 18, I could have really shaved some time. So, same point. I'm just like the Cowboys. You mentioned a couple other teams, including the
Sure.
Bears and the Lions, that I want to talk about. We have about 10 more minutes in this show after this break. Let's take the break. Let's do
Let's
real
do it.
quick hitters, not quick hitters that take forever. And then we'll wrap it up.
All right, we're back on the show. Very, very, very quick hitters, Gabe. Go ahead.
Travis Kelce, podcast time? Are we up to just podcasts and album releases, or are we focused on football still?
He seems to be focused on football. He's playing well. He's not
I'm
the
kind of
problem.
just teasing him. What about the team? We good? Chiefs?
No, we're not making the playoffs, which I told you guys
Okay.
weeks ago. So
Sticking with
that. Why? They're not. Look at their schedule. They have to win out essentially, and they're not going to win out. They're not doing anything that makes you think they're going to win out.
Okay. All right. Well, then we'll save time on the Chiefs this week and maybe forever. They're not on the ban list, but they're teetering. You said Ben Johnson a little bit ago. You know, I'll like to bring Caleb Williams into the conversation. I know that a lot of these wins seem a little goofy. I know that you're going to tell me like, these are coin flip things and they're just getting lucky. But like, you're talking about when to peak. Like, I've even seen their peak. How do we know that these guys aren't really great?
No, I think it's worth mentioning. They're doing a good job, Gabe. That was a validating win on Friday night, and I know that that the Eagles have their issues. I get it, but they beat them up at the line of scrimmage. It was very impressive. And look, we'll talk about the playoffs a lot the next couple of weeks. But right now, the Bears are number one in the NFC. It's a little fluky, sure, but the Eagles' win was very, very validating for that program, and so I give them a lot of credit for getting it done like that.
Okay. Do you have concerns about either of these teams? And if so, who are you more concerned about? The Ravens or the Eagles?
The Ravens.
Go on.
Oh, I just don't think they're very good right now. I don't know what about the way they play that makes you excited about what they are. And the Eagles, I think just have to get better play calling. And I hope Nick Sirianni steps in. He's the head coach. He's got to figure that out. The Ravens they're just discombobulated this year. Just not very good. And Lamar's not 100%, which really I think hurts their ability to just be as good as they need to be offensively. His legs are very important to them.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not taking the bait on Joe Burrow. Okay, he's back. Cool. Whatever. Let's talk about the Panthers. What is this team? Even my son was like, wait, they're kind of good, aren't they? But are they? I thought they stunk. Nobody can figure them out. Why would you ever bet on them? What are the Panthers?
Who knows? But they beat the Rams. I mean, look, they're so the last month off the top of my head, right? They beat the Packers, beat the Rams, lost the Saints by 10, and then were uncompetitive on Monday Night Football against the 49ers. I think it's just an example of a young team with a young coaching staff just figuring things out. You hope to get that base after the end of the season to get to next year where you feel really good about where you are. Bryce Young's getting better, man. Look, we kind of counted for dead. I don't know if he's ever going to be a franchise type guy. They have to pay him probably, but McMillan was a good draft pick. Like they're doing some good things, Gabe.
Okay. They're like every year, there are dumb people trying to talk themselves into, the Steelers got to move on from Mike Tomlin.
Yes.
What are we doing?
Yeah, it's time. They've won 6 of their last 17 games.
You're with the get rid of Tomlin crowd.
Buffalo ran the same 2-run plays from the same formation. I think it was 30 times against Pittsburgh the other day. Pittsburgh was unprepared for that. They've won 6 of their last 17 games. They're not a good football team. It is time to move on from Tomlin. It happens. You run your course, and he's been there forever, won a Super Bowl. Time to move on. There's nothing wrong with that.
All right, LSU should have hired him then. No one is ever going to convince me that you're better off with somebody else over Mike Tomlin.
Do you know the last year Mike Tomlin won a playoff game?
I don't care, man.
I mean, that's important, right? Pittsburgh's a team that strives to win playoff games. Do you know when that was?
Yeah, I don't know, but they've been in the playoffs almost every year of my life. So,
Okay.
yeah, I
Would
don't
you
know.
rather?
Was it 5 years
Would
ago they
you?
won a playoff
Would you?
game? 6, 7? What are we
20
talking about?
2016. Would you? Would you rather have a team that like the Rams that like won a Super Bowl, or the Bengals that made a Super Bowl, or like the Steelers that just sort of aren't ever competitive in the playoffs? Like, would you rather root for a team that can make a Super Bowl and maybe win it, or a team that just gets in the playoffs and loses every year?
You're talking to a guy who grew up in a city where
I
his
know you're a Jets
choices were
fan.
the
I
Jets
understand,
and the Giants,
and
okay?
you chose
So
the
I was
Jets. I know.
always irrelevant or exactly what you're talking about. Every 5 or 10 years, out of nowhere, a Super Bowl and then shitty again. So
Yeah.
I don't know how to answer that question. I just know Mike Tomlin's a good coach. Speaking of the Giants, real quick here, my group chat fell for a Wesley Steinberg tweet about Abdul
Every time.
Carter. Yeah,
Uh,
so I think
but no, but here's the thing. Abdul Carter though was benched for the first quarter last
right.
night, but not for the tweet for the reason. I mean, maybe this is the reason why, but not. I don't think so.
Okay, so that was not even the dumbest thing that came out of that Giants game against the Patriots, who are now 11-2. Can we cancel kicking if Koo is missing kicks by literally missing the football? He kicked the
Yeah.
ground. Can we just be done with kickers?
We can. We have 30 seconds left, Gabe. I want to bring up one thing before we go here. Did you see the video of the Waymo car driving through a police stop with a suspect on the ground with guns pointed at him? Did you see the video of the Waymo car doing that?
I've seen Waymos drive through accident scenes and cluelessly just drift right through, but I have not seen that video.
Gabe loves Waymos, and so future sponsor here. I was hoping you had seen that and we could discuss this to end the show, but clearly you have not. I will send it to you to enjoy for your morning coffee. By the way, guys, we moved our our Thursday show to Friday now.
Oh.
We moved it to Friday. Just FYI, we're going to make picks on Friday now. Hopefully that does better for us. I think it will, instead of making them on Wednesdays. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. We will be back on Friday. Matt and I Friday making picks. Have a great couple of days, everybody.